Hey everybody, it's Cheap Comic Collector here again. This is episode number 23, and today we're going to do another episode of the What Am I Reading series. As you can see, I'm reading World's Finest. I just got done reading these 4 issues of World's Finest. We're going to start off with number 221. Well, first of all, let's talk about World's Finest a little bit. It had 323 issues in the original run. The first issue was called World's Best back in 1941. It ran till 1986 with a total of 323 issues. And it was one of the 3 team-up books that DC did in the 70s and 80s, with, of course, Batman team-ups being in Brave and the Bold, Superman and DC Comics Presents, and then World's Finest usually was Batman and Superman teaming up. So, I never really thought about that before as World's Finest as a team-up series, but it usually was. It didn't start out that way. I'm not sure when it became a team-up book, but anyway, to start off, we got a 20 center, issue number 221. Kind of a simple cover by Nick Cardy. And in this issue, and this is from 1974, this issue features the Super Sons series, which I had never read before. This is the third story in the Super Sons series. And the Super Sons were Superman Jr. and Batman Jr., where they were obviously the kids of Batman and Superman. And here on the first page, we see their wives of Superman and Batman arguing with them about their sons going superheroing, basically. And the interesting thing about this series, I did a little research on it since I'd never read it before, is we don't know who those women are. Their faces have never been revealed. They have never said who they were. Obviously, the most obvious answer would be Lois Lane and Selina Kyle. But they've never actually revealed that. And so in this issue, Superman and Batman Jr. are basically complaining about their parents. And there's some, Batman Jr. talks to Superman Jr. and he says, Clark, baby, what took you so long? And then there's another screen down here where Batman Jr. says, the fuzz, after somebody. It's action time, Tiger. So yeah, some 70s dialogue there, although, I grew up in the 70s. I was born in 1967, and I never heard anybody talk like that. Maybe I grew up in the Midwest, so maybe they talk like that in the bigger cities. I don't really know. The artwork is by Dick Dillon and Murphy Anderson, and stories by Bob Haney. And basically, Superman Jr., Batman Jr. get involved with somebody who stole a car. They kind of want to stand up for this kid and put him on the right path. And the story deals with that. Some nice artwork, especially for 70s. Got some ads for Rudolph and Pop-O-Matic games. And here we have a half-page column behind the scenes at the DC Comic World, and it actually talks about the Comic Mobile. You never heard of the Comic Mobile? It was a van they used to drive around the New York, New Jersey area, something like that, and they actually sold comics to kids out of the van. So think of an ice cream truck, except it's comic books. So something we all could have used during COVID, I think. And the artwork just continues. I think there's only the one story in this issue. The vintage ads are always fun. Sometimes that's my favorite part of an issue, actually. The story in here wasn't too bad. It's definitely got a kind of a morality play. Did have a letter column. And some kind of football game ad there in comic format, and you know, if you want to look like this guy, you can send it away for a course and all that stuff. So back cover has another adventure of the Ready Rangers, whatever the heck that is. Let's see, Aurora did models, but that doesn't look like a model, so maybe they were trying to do some other toys. But anyway, moving on, we've got World's Finest, number 227, 100-page super spectacular for only 60 cents. And cover is by Nick Cardy again. Carmen Infantino did the layout, and then Nick Cardy finished it. And we've got one new story in this issue. We got table of contents. We got Superman and Batman and Deadman, Rip Hunter, Martian Manhunter, Vigilante, and some extra features, which we will see in a minute. So this first story, the new story, was by Bob Haney again. Dick Dillon on art, pencils with Tex Blaisdell doing inks. There's the credits right there, if it'll focus. And nice Statue of Liberty opening with Superman destroying the Statue of Liberty. And I'm not going to talk too much about the stories because I don't want to give things away if people haven't read them. Just kind of show off the artwork and what we can see. So definitely nice art. Dick Dillon did nice artwork. And then, so part of this storyline too is Batman looking for Deadman. Apparently, Batman has a brother who died, and Deadman took over his body, and Batman's trying to kick him out of it. That was kind of the subplot. And so not a whole lot of Superman in that story. It's mostly Batman and Deadman. But he plays a crucial role. And then the rest of the issue is reprints. We got Rip Hunter Time Master from an old Rip Hunter comic book. I never really read... This is probably the first original Rip Hunter story that I read that's not, you know, him as the time traveler in modern comics. It was actually pretty good. They go back in time and get involved with some mythological characters, and interesting. And then we have a typical 70s ad. This issue's from, let's see, 1975, I think. Some Corgi models. And this was an interesting ad. MPC models, but it's yeah, they're just different. I guess you painted them. I'm not sure. Strange changing time machine, and coffin monsters in the coffins. And pretty cool. Wouldn't mind getting those. And yeah, the Rip Hunter story went on for a while, so it must have been the main story in one of his comic books. Got a little quiz down here showing off the just a filler piece. Probably originally there was an ad in that space in the original comic. Then we go into a Vigilante reprint. I think it was from an old issue of Action Comics from the 50s. And this may be the first Vigilante original story series that I've read also. Yeah, the Western Vigilante, not the new one. And in this issue, stuff is like Chinese assistant has, I forget if he died or if he retired or whatever, but basically his son takes his place as Vigilante's assistant with this story. Which, and again, this is a reprint, so this isn't when it happened. It happened much earlier. There may have been a way to present the sidekick in a better light instead of using a racial stereotype. I'm not sure about that. I'm just guessing. And then we have an old John Jones Martian Manhunter from an old issue of Detective Comics. This is a reprint, but it looks pretty early for this. He wasn't even called Martian Manhunter on the title pages, so we got Manhunter from Mars. So that's a reprint also. And then we get into this, which is a DC Comics Stars on the Screen. So this would have been, what did I say? This was 1975. So yeah. So basically, it went through, and there talks about like the old Superman serials, the old Batman serials. Got some pictures, the old Vigilante serial. Apparently there was a Congo Bill serial, which I don't remember there being. Black Hawk serial, I think I've seen that one. And then, so I don't know if they were, planning at that time on the Superman movie. This would have been 75, so it might have been too early for that, but maybe it was a glimmer in somebody's eye. And we got Superman, Batman. Another reprint in this one. Yeah, they're fighting the anti-Batman and the anti-Superman. So it's kind of a mystery story. You're supposed to try and figure out who they are based on the clues. Yeah, I kind of figured out who they were, but didn't see how it was possible, and they explained it all at the end. So not too hard to figure out, but it was a fun story. Definitely a one from an earlier era. And it's got Superman, Batman, and Robin interacting with Commissioner Gordon and Perry White. And then you got a letter column on the back, so that's pretty cool for the 70s. And then the inside back cover's got this old spirograph ad. I think we looked at that in one of the fun catalogs we looked through from the Whitman comics. It's the same ad, it's just glossier. And then on the back we have the ever popular Evel Knievel, which I definitely had one of those when I was a kid. Those were fun. And then we go to World's Finest, number 248 from 1977. This one's got a cover by Jose Garcia Lopez and Dick Giordano. Got Superman and Batman on the cover, which is the main story. We have like a title page with the different contents. And this was interesting too, this Hostess ad. It's the penguin in the cuckoos for Hostess fruit pies. But what's interesting about it is there's no Batman or Robin in it. It's just the penguin, and it's the cops that outsmart him with Hostess fruit pies, not Batman and Robin. And I thought that was weird. I mean, wouldn't be the whole point of using the characters to be, using Batman and Robin? But interesting. Anyway. So yeah, we got the title page. Looks like we're going to be looking at Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Sergeant Rock team up. Black Canary, Vigilante. And these are all new stories. This was 80 pages for $1. So in the course of 3 years, we went from 100 pages for 60 cents to 80 pages for $1. So we got Superman, Batman, the Lurkers, and let's see, we got stories by Bob Haney again, pencils by Kurt Schaffenberger, inks by Tex Blaisdell. So, I wasn't real impressed with this story. It's just kind of a run-of-the-mill Batman Superman story for the time. It has to do with clones, which is kind of early for clones in 1977. And we got the always traditional Sea Monkeys ad. And of course they always used to do these chapters things, which I never really understood. If it's all in the same book, why are they different chapters? Like it's a novel, even though it's only 4 pages long or something. And then it goes into a Black Canary and Green Arrow story. They didn't realize it first because it starts with Black Canary. Green Arrow doesn't show up until later. And they're basically fighting this old villain called the Helgromite, which a Helgromite is a water larva of some kind of moth, I think. But people use them for fishing, and the costume is actually pretty realistic for what they look like. If you look one up online, they're pretty ugly bugs. Gary Conway's the writer, Trevor Von Eden and Vince Colletta are the artists. So Trevor Von Eden, Green Arrow. And the artwork's good. And the story was okay. Wasn't anything, real spectacular, but for just what it was good. I think I enjoyed it better than the Superman Batman story, actually, because that was pretty predictable. But and I had never really seen the Helgromite before, so this was a new villain to me. And yeah, there we have it. And it ends on the cliffhanger because the bad guy thinks Green Arrow is Batman. Nice little twist at the end to be continued in the next issue. And then we got an ad for the Secret Society of Supervillains series. And a new Vigilante story by Bill Kunkel, with art by Gray Morrow and Vicente Alcazar. I don't think I've ever heard of any of those people. But this was an interesting story too, actually. It's the Vigilante versus the Dummy. And oh, okay. So I had my stories mixed up. The Vigilante story in the last issue, that was the original stuff, his assistant. This issue is where he gets the new assistant, and it's the son of the original stuff. So the artwork is nice for somebody I've never heard of. I kind of like the layouts. He rides off into the sunset with the kid on the back of his motorcycle. Alright, then we got the letter column. Just one page this time. And then this next story was Sergeant Rock and Wonder Woman team up during World War II. So, Green Comics Database lists this as a Earth 2 story. But I believe Sergeant Rock is pretty much considered a Earth 1 character, so it was a fun story. But it doesn't involve time travel. It does have Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman in during World War II, so it fits in nicely with the Wonder Woman series of the time, because the first series of Wonder Woman, the TV series, if you've watched that, was set during World War II. And then for the second and third series, they brought it into modern times, where the Steve Trevor was supposed to be, I think, the son of the one from the first season, even though, it was the same actor playing the part. It was very, very confusing if you're just watching them in reruns and all of a sudden it changes to modern times from World War II. But this was a fun story, the team up that you don't really expect to see. And that's Dr. Psycho there. Looks like a psycho. But I like how they played with panel layouts in the 70s like this, you know. And sometimes it didn't work and it was hard to read because you'd start reading them out of order. But like these angles and stuff, you know, it's real easy to read them in order. It flows naturally. But it's just a fun instead of the old, you know, like in the previous issue we were just looking at where everything is just blocked. Well, we went from that to that, and that's pretty cool. And of course now we don't even have a lot of the newer comics with the glossy paper. They don't even have panels. It's just kind of one great big scene. So that was a fun issue. Got an issue of the Daily Planet on the last page. No Fred Hembeck, unfortunately, in that issue. And then this comic looks, I mean, it's got this line on the back and on the front, on the bottom. So I guess it was miscut. I don't know. I mean, you can see the story and everything. It just looks weird to have those lines on the bottom, on the cover. And then our last issue, it's 1979, issue number 257. And again, it's $1, but now it's only 68 pages. So we still got a $1 book, but at some point they dropped down between 1977 and 1979. They dropped down from 80 pages to 68, but kept the same $1 price. So this one's got a cool cover. Got a wraparound cover by Jim Aparo, who is a wonderful Batman artist. He did a lot of the Batman team-ups in Brave and the Bold. So you got all these characters that are in this issue, basically rushing towards this bag lady who is kind of the villain in the first story. But none of these characters are in that story. It's only Superman and Batman. So you got a cover that kind of represents what's inside and kind of doesn't. But it is a cool cover. And I wanted to see if I can zoom in on this lady, this bag lady's face. Looks like something that ought to be in, I don't know, Mad Magazine or Gru or something along those orders. Very cool. And the inside page, I guess I don't know if there's any ads in this issue. Maybe there's no ads in this issue. Because in the inside cover we have this kind of just world's finest thing. It's just a page that's just filler. Nothing really there except for what it is. And it is by Delbo and Orlando. So I think Jose Delbo and Joe Orlando, probably. And yeah, the cover was by Jim Aparo. So Superman, Batman. Basically, the citizens of Metropolis are being turned stone, and it's all this bag lady's fault. So, stories by Denny O'Neil. It was a good story. Out of all these 4 issues, this was the best story, and that's what you would expect by Denny O'Neil. Art was by Dick Dillon and Frank McLaughlin, and it's a good story. It's a lot of it is done by the point of view from the bag lady, and I think that's why it's a good story. If it had just been a strictly Superman, Batman, the focus on them the entire time, it would not have read as well. It would have just been another Superman, Batman story. So by putting the writing focus on the bag lady, it was a much stronger story, a lot better written. Just really good stuff. And then we go to a Black Lightning story. Apparently this was continued from a Green Arrow story in the previous issue. Yeah, we got Black Lightning, and he comes up against, I forget his name, Toby's Whale or something like that. I guess that's him. It's kind of got a weird face there. He didn't look like that in the TV series. You know, it's a good story. Forgot to do the credits. Let's see who did it. Written by Denny O'Neil again. So yeah, it was a good story. Drawn by George Tuska, inked by Bob Smith. So good professional people all around, which makes it a good read. Kind of short because it's, you know, it's a continuing feature. And at the end, you know, they're shaking hands because they're going to team up against the 100 because they're after both of them. And then we go into a Green Arrow story, which I thought was kind of weird because, you know, Green Arrow already was part of the Black Canary Green Arrow feature. But here he is again in his own feature. This one was written by Paul Cooperberg, artists Jose Delbo and Frank McLaughlin. Nice artwork. This one jumped around a little bit. It could have been a much stronger story, I think, if it had been written a little bit differently. Brings up the Clock King as the villain, who it sounds like hadn't been seen in a while. Since the flashback is to back, like, you know, he's got Green Arrow and Speedy in their original costumes trapped in an hourglass. So, and that's a flashback to World's Finest 111. So yeah, that was quite a while ago. And then it goes into a Hawkman story. Kerry Conway is the writer. Rich Buckler and Romeo Tanghall are the artists. And yeah, I've never been that much of a Hawkman fan. They fly around and do things. It was an okay story. The one thing I did find interesting was that they could communicate with a pigeon, which I don't remember them having animal powers where they could actually talk to birds. Maybe I just wasn't aware of that aspect. I don't know. And then we go to a Shazam story, which I apparently fell asleep while I was reading it, because when I was flipping through these before I did this video, I realized that I hadn't actually read this one or finished reading it. And what's funny about that is that the story starts out with everybody being in town being sleepy. Has to do with what's going on in the story, but everybody has no energy and is falling asleep. And I fell asleep. Writer was E. Nelson Bridwell and penciler Don Newton, inker Kurt Schaffenberger. And I've always enjoyed Don Newton's art. It's got a style of its own. It's a little bit different, but very recognizable. And you know, there's not a lot of background in this story. But the main characters, the art is fantastic. Nice innovative panel layout there. And it was an okay story. It's I won't give it away. It's got, you know, it's a decent story. It's not too hard to figure out, but it was fun. And then we got Mr. Mind shows up at the end. He was always my favorite Captain Marvel villain. So I think there's so much they could do with him if they wanted to make him just really, really evil. But he's always just a worm. So I don't know why they just don't step on him. But you know, that's me. And then we got a letter column on the back page, and then of course the back cover was the wraparound. So that's what I'm reading, or what I just got done reading like a day ago. And that's it. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. We got some more boxes coming soon. In fact, I'll probably film that video right after this one, but it will post on another day. And also, I just got some toys in today that I want to show off that are Fantastic Four related. So we'll be doing that. In case I haven't mentioned it, what I do for a living is arcade machines, which is why these things are in my garage. In case you've noticed in the background some odd looking things, this is you know, what's around. And the toys that I've got, I use as prizes in the one of the cranes that I have. So I'm going to show those off. We'll do a little box opening, see what's inside. And I will see you next time. Have a good one, guys.